Hi, my name is Kirsten, and I'm a ROD, R-O-D, recovering occult dabbler. That feels so good to get out there. Admitting it is the first step. Well, actually, the first step is burning your witch handbook and getting rid of the various spell paraphernalia like love oil. It smells really good. Dragon's blood, holy water, fur from my cat to get rid of the elementals. Those are the fairies that attack her. And my updated Ouija board called the Psychic Circle, which it turns out is harder to use all by yourself, but not impossible. And I'm sure there's an app for that now anyway. And limiting my visits to the witch store. That was the hardest. There is a store, a witch store, where all your Samantha Stevens needs can be met. And the first time I went, I must admit, it was a little bit overwhelming. First of all, there was a homeless woman screaming at me that if I stepped inside, I would be dancing with the devil. And I thought, I'm single in LA. I may have already danced with him, so I'm going to take my chances. And I went in. I noticed penis candles and pentagram puzzles and real witches behind the counter. This is not your mom's witch store. The witches weren't wearing pointy hats, and nor did they have warts or hook noses. Some were actually pretty. There was one, though, who was quite intimidating. She reminded me of some of my coworkers who are always going on about their ailments. Look, if I wanted to hear your problems, I wouldn't be in a witch store trying to fix mine. But I think that she was the strongest witch and had psychic powers, so I tried to have like a nice hum going on in my brain so she couldn't read my thoughts. Heavy red curtains covered the doors to the back of the shop. Shelves of bottles and potions lined the walls. There was even a cat lounging around, a black cat with glaucomic eyes which looked like they were glowing. This was way more heavy duty than reading my angel cards to my friends while drinking mimosas. Perhaps what made it feel particularly more serious was the fact that the woman in front of me in line asked the witch behind the counter to help her put a curse on a coworker. The witches feel a duty to warn the customer that if you indeed want to put a curse on somebody, it will come back to you 3 times stronger. The woman in line did not care and chose to ignore the warning, so the witch continued to anoint the candle, which is where she chooses a candle of a certain color in line with the request, and then she puts all kinds of herbs and oils of the mortar and a pestle and gold flakes and other secret ingredients, kind of like a magical salad dressing. Then when you burn it later, while focusing on what you wish/request, the candle speeds up your intention, and it's an oil-based meditation aided by the power of fire. What could be better for a woman of impatience like me? I'm drawn to that kind of efficiency. I'm also drawn to the idea that someone more knowledgeable is guiding me in the lighter, airier side of the occult. If I were to say, I want to see more romance, or more money, or heal my emotional wounds from the coworker who put a spell on me, they would tell me which candle to buy, and then the magic would work. The witch's knowledge is very important. Magic in the hands of a novice can be very dangerous, and I should know. Before I went to visit the witch store, a fellow occult dabbler gave me a love spell to use on my latest crush. It involved charcoal, smoke, and sand. The spell needed to be done by a certain moon date, and being the procrastinator that I am, I waited until the last minute. It required a cup of sand. You'd think this would be an easy grab and go at a playground or a park, but no, apparently there was a sand famine in Los Feliz that year. And for those of you thinking, the beach has sand, I'm like, yeah, thanks. Sure, now it seems obvious, but I had a waning moon, traffic on the 10 headed west, and time was not on my side. So, on a Friday night, there I am at Home Depot buying a 15-pound bag of sand. Carrying that sack back to my apartment felt like I was carrying a sacrifice of some sort, limp and heavy, and I thought, how witchy. I followed the directions of the spell, and the flakes and the charcoal started to spark when lit into a beautiful mini fireworks display. And then, just as quickly, clouds of smoke filled my living room. Freaking me out, I blew on the spell, which, word to the wise, if you're ever in that situation, is the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do, because it makes it bigger. And so I finally just threw water on it, and I knew that I was killing the spell. The next day I drove to Griffith Park and threw the burned, cooled clump into the trees. Fast forward a few weeks as I'm seeing my psychic to find out why things feel even worse. She said that a spell that I recently did was still active. But that something had gone wrong, and I felt like saying, sister, you don't know the half of it. I almost burned down my freaking apartment, but I tried to keep a hum in my head so she wouldn't hear that. Apparently, throwing the spell into nature only made it grow stronger, since there were things growing and nourishing it. And because I'd thrown water on it, it was deformed, like a Frankenspell, wandering the woods, asking for freeway directions instead of making its way to the dude I had a crush on. But here's the bizarre part. According to my professional, my biggest problem was that my crush's ex had put a spell on me. Of course, she's a lawyer, so she has a backyard, and naturally her spell worked. That's why I was feeling so bad. So you can see how having the witch store guide me through these rookie mistakes was very appealing. And this was all very reassuring until it wasn't. I began to have sleepless nights and found myself preoccupied with looking up spells to do this or ways to manipulate that. And even with a certified professional to guide me, I realized I was in over my head. For a while, I had fooled myself into thinking my spells were for the greater good. If my crush had returned my affections, the world would be a better place. If that coworker who had developed a rash realized how her itching was her karma, maybe she would be nicer to her team. But I had to admit to myself, Walter White, I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. I was alive. And that realization was not good for my karma. I had been witch slapped. I needed to quit cold turkey. I rehabilitated myself back to normal and pondered what I had learned. Penis candles are great for gag gifts, not fertility treatments. Using meditation instead of spells is a lot more productive, inexpensive, and less flammable. Manipulation is fine when trying to choose a restaurant, but things get unethical when you threaten a pox on someone's house. Avoid the witch store temptation by purchasing your sage at Whole Foods. And finally, the witching hour is relative when you live in a city with so much damn traffic. It has been years since I have put a spell on anybody, and I've left those days behind me. But sometimes I do go to the witch store to buy some oil just because it smells good, or to buy candles for my friends for various celebrations, because, nothing says, glad you were born, or Happy Jesus Day, like a candle marinating in Eye of Newt, which was created while I was dancing with the devil. But if you ever get one of those candles from me, enjoy them, but do so at your own risk, because you know the old saying, when playing with magic, safety first.